This is a 30,000-pound ticking time bomb. Inside that rotating steel drum is a substance that built the modern world. But if it stops moving for even a few hours, it becomes a massive disaster. We see concrete mixer trucks every day on the highway. Their drums spin rhythmically as they head toward construction sites. Most people think it's just a simple delivery, but there is a secret battle happening inside that truck. What happens when that rhythm stops? What happens when the liquid stone inside decides to stay put? In the world of industrial maintenance, there is no job more backbreaking, cramped, or expensive than cleaning out a hardened mixer. This isn't something you can fix with a garden hose. This is a brutal fight against chemistry and physics. It involves heavy hammers, high-pressure water, and sometimes dangerous chemicals. Today, we are going deep inside the drum to see why concrete mixer drivers drive like their lives are on the line. We will see why the workers who clean these trucks have one of the hardest jobs in the world. To understand why a hardened mixer is a nightmare, you first have to understand how these machines work. A concrete mixer drum isn't just a big, empty tank. It is actually a very smart piece of engineering. Inside the drum, there are massive, spiral-shaped blades welded to the walls. These look like a giant screw. When the drum rotates in one direction, these blades pull the wet concrete deep into the middle of the truck. This keeps the concrete moving so it doesn't separate or sell. When the truck gets to the job site and needs to pour the concrete, the driver reverses the rotation. The spiral blades then act like a lift, pushing the heavy concrete up and out of the chute. But this design is exactly what makes cleaning so hard. Those blades create tight corners and hidden spots where concrete can start to build up over time. In the industry, they call this build-up. A few pounds of leftover concrete today becomes a few hundred pounds next month. Eventually, a truck that is supposed to carry a full load can only carry a partial load because the rest of the space is filled with old hardened stone. This doesn't just take up space, it adds thousands of pounds of extra weight. That makes the truck burn more fuel and puts a huge amount of stress on the engine and the tires. The real nightmare happens during what drivers call a hot load. This happens when a truck gets stuck in heavy traffic, breaks down, or gets delayed at a construction site for too long. Concrete is a chemical reaction that is always moving forward. The moment water touches the dry cement, a process begins that turns it into stone. Drivers usually have about 90 minutes before that liquid turns solid. If the drum stops spinning while it's full of concrete, the material settles to the bottom. Within a few hours, you no longer have a truck. You have a 10-ton boulder trapped inside a steel shell. This is why you often see concrete trucks driving fast or weaving through traffic. They aren't just being impatient, they're trying to save the truck. If they don't keep that drum moving, the truck is basically ruined. When a drum sets up while it's full, the recovery process is legendary for how difficult it is. You might see workers cutting massive holes into the side of the steel drum just to get inside. Imagine standing inside a dark, dusty steel tube with a 40-pound jackhammer. You are chipping away at a wall of stone that vibrates your entire body. It is loud, it is hot, and it is incredibly dangerous. There are three main ways to clean a mixer. The first and most common way is manual chipping. Most drums have small access holes called manholes. A worker has to crawl through that tiny hole to get inside. The environment inside is terrible. It's loud, it's dusty, and there is almost no room to move. These workers use pneumatic hammers to break the concrete off the blades and the walls. They have to be very careful. One wrong move with that heavy hammer can poke a hole through the side of the truck or break the internal blades. If they damage the blades, the repair bill could be more than the cost of the cleaning. The dust is another huge problem. Concrete dust is very bad for your lungs. Workers have to wear heavy respirators and protective gear. They're doing this while working in a steel tube that can get hotter than 100 degrees if the sun is hitting the truck. It is an exhausting process that can take a whole team an entire day just to remove a few inches of old concrete. It is the kind of job that most people would quit after 5 minutes. If the concrete hasn't turned into a solid rock yet, There is a second option, using chemicals. Some companies use hydrochloric acid or special concrete dissolvers. These chemicals work by breaking the bonds that hold the concrete together. The acid is poured into the drum, and the mixer rotates slowly for a few hours. The acid eats away at the outer layer of the concrete and turns it into a soft mush that can be washed out with water. However, this is very risky. Acid is very corrosive. If it stays in the drum too long, it will start to eat the steel drum itself. It's a very difficult balance of timing. The most modern way to do this is called hydro-demolition. Some special shops have robotic arms that use water jets. These jets are so powerful that they can slice through concrete like a knife through butter. They use pressures of up to 40,000 pounds per square inch. These machines are great because they don't damage the steel, but they are very expensive. Not every truck owner has access to a robot that shoots high-pressure water. You might wonder why anyone would bother with all this work. Why not just buy a new drum? The answer is the cost. A new mixer drum can cost between $20,000 and $40,000. That doesn't even count the cost of the labor to take the old one off and put the new one on. A professional cleaning is expensive, but it still costs much less than a new drum. For a small business owner, saving the drum is the only way to stay in business. There is also a secret trick that many drivers keep in their trucks for emergencies. It sounds like a joke, but it's real. Sugar. If a driver knows their drum has stopped and they can't get it moving again, they will dump several large bags of sugar into the mix. Sugar is a powerful chemical retarder. It stops the concrete from hardening for a few extra hours. It buys the driver enough time to get to a repair shop or find a way to dump the load before it turns into a permanent rock. It's a simple solution for a very high-stakes problem. The next time you see a concrete mixer truck on the road, take a look at the drum. If it's spinning, the driver is doing fine. If it's sitting still, someone is probably having a very bad day. These machines are the reason we have roads, bridges, and buildings, but they are also a reminder that we are always working against the clock. Cleaning a concrete mixer isn't just a job, it's a battle. It takes hard work, smart science, and a lot of patience to keep the world's foundations moving. From the person with the jackhammer to the driver avoiding traffic, everyone is working together to make sure the concrete stays where it belongs and out of the inside of the truck.